Aloha Kako, and welcome back to Just&True. Today, I want to talk about a coup. Let's talk about coups and how cool they are. There's a lot going on right now, and I feel like I have not been putting enough information out there, and I apologize for that. But I have definitely been very active in prepping, and I have been very active in my disaster preparedness, and also with just kind of getting more in touch with fellow YouTubers and a few of my subscribers, so I really do appreciate that. The other thing is, well, the main reason I'm making this video right now is basically all about Venezuela. Now, one thing that the United States really likes to do is we like to stage coups. We like to usurp the power of a nation, especially if that nation has resources or political ties or some sort of leverage or something that we want as the United States. Down in Venezuela, of course, they do have the world's largest oil reserves. They far surpass what's going on there in Saudi Arabia, and they have less infrastructure pumping it out. We all know that Maduro is down there doing an unsuccessful job at saving his failed economy. It's being just eaten away by hyperinflation and by pummeling gas prices and by horrible social economic stimulus that completely failed Chavez, and it just took generations or a generation, I should say, for it to catch up. What we have is we had a little bit of an issue. See, lately in Venezuela, because there's this failing economy and a crumbling infrastructure and a civil war basically going on, nobody's saying that, but you're having militant groups that are basically their militia fighting each other on the streets, one side being pro-government, pro-Maduro, and the other side being, they don't really know what yet. They really don't want Maduro, they want someone else. Along comes the United States, and we got this guy who's primed, and ready to kick ass and chew bubblegum. And Juan Miguel Ruiz, I believe is his name. Don't quote me on the middle and last, but his name is Juan. And this guy was basically we were going to use as this puppet or one of the people to take over Venezuela so the United States can control the vast amount of oil resources down there. Currently, Maduro has been getting really, really tight and comfortable with our Putin pal over in Russia. They are exchanging massive amounts of military alliances, infrastructure, swapping information. Those V2 or V10 rather, supersonic, nuclear-capable high-altitude bombers, of course, were flown down to Venezuela and then to Chile and out. I'm still saying that they're down in Venezuela, and you'll see an increasingly large amount of Russian naval presence in the area for Venezuela. So we really didn't like that. So we started to basically comb and breed this guy Juan to take over power. And the last couple of weeks have been very interesting because he, for the very first time, came out and said he would like to take power. He's encouraging that the military be on his side, and he's encouraging that the people support him in this endeavor. Well, it seems like the United States kind of failed a little bit because about a day ago, maybe less, 12 hours ago, 12 to 16 hours ago, he was on his convoy, and he was traveling throughout the state of Venezuela, and I guess Maduro's armed men have actually assaulted his convoy, stopped the convoy, and at gunpoint has taken this man, captured and imprisoned him, arrested him. This man who's trying to take over the government, they arrested him basically on treason, and we'll see where that goes. But this is huge because on one side you do have a failing government, failing country who can't feed itself, whose hyperinflation has been driving the country wild in a really bad way. And then on the other side, you have this country who the United States wants to use for its natural resources and for its political influence in certain organizations, which we'll get into OPEC in a second. But for Venezuela, you had, I hate to say it because I don't like any government, especially ours, as much as I love the United States. When you see both the United States and the people of Venezuela basically want Maduro out of power, it's sad to see something like this go so unspoken of, and I honestly think that we should do a little bit, not as a government and country, but as a people, to give our emotional support, our intelligence support, our anything that we could do logistically for these people in Venezuela. There's a lot that we can do to help them out with whatever battle and struggles that they're going through and tribulations. There's a lot that we can do. So the other bit of this, which I find very interesting, is OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Trading Countries. I forgot what the E and C is. I'm not really good with my acronyms. I swore them off after the military. So OPEC basically changes their president, their El Presidente, every year. And this year just so happens to be Venezuela's turn, so we are pumping up the heat to try and take Maduro out and get a man like Juan, or someone like him, into power, so that we can have not only control of the vast amount of oil that's down there, which we're going to need because the Gulf is being increasingly shut off to us. Iran is pushing out into the Pacific. It looks like we're going to have a war with China coming up real soon in the Taiwan Southeast China Sea area, so that's cool, and the Black Sea's looking a little tumultuous as well. So we got a lot going on. We want that oil. So we're going to go down there, and we're trying to take it, and it's just not going well for us at this time. So I don't know what's really going to happen, but I definitely will either expect, at this point, I wouldn't even put an assassination out on Maduro out of the question. That's definitely possible. If not, then at least another coup or staged coup. You might even see a little bit of an uprising or an uproar to free this man, or maybe a good old Western jailbreak, but that's highly doubtful. So we'll see what happens there. But it's very important for us to think about Venezuela right now, because even though I do know it's very pressing with Iran and the movement that's going on into the Syrian border, because that is the long-term goal for the Middle East. What's happening with Turkey moving into the Syrian border, and what's happening with Israel, the Kurds. It's a big hot mess over there right now, as always. But now you're having a little bit more of the big boy players stepping up their game over there, and Iran now has a pretty capable navy. Not compared to ours, it pales in comparison, but still they can do some damage, and they're pushing further out into the Atlantic. South China Sea, of course, Taiwan will be, it's only a matter of time, guys. I mean, he's come out multiple times. He says, I'm going to sink your ships, I'm going to sink the carriers, I'm going to sink this, I'm going to do that. And a lot of people think it's just threats till cows come home, but there's a reason they're doing it. It's not just because they're threats. We've been in trade war with them forever. Trade wars, go back throughout history, trade wars always begot real wars. And that's what we're doing with China right now. They've already came out and said to their Navy, prepare for war. Their Navy admirals came out and told, and their Army generals came out and said, prepare for war to their troops. And then now they're trying to convince Taiwan to give up their independence, give up their sovereignty, give up their rights, give up their nationality, and give up their identity to become a part of China again, which is not going to happen. So that's all barreling down the scope, but in our own little backyard, we have this very tiny archipelago of a country called Venezuela. And it is now, just so coincidentally happens to be, the OPEC leader, executive OPEC officer for the year, to determine and to have the most sway in trade and embargo, in tax and tariffs, and all of their meeting nuances that comes with that. It's a very high, it's a very useful period to have, and also comes with having the world's largest oil reserve ever, and who's ever fought a war over resources. So that's very important. So keep your eyes on the prize, and definitely know that when it comes to the coup failing, which it looks like it may have kind of done already, there's always the second option. The second option is, not the only other option, but war is always the second option. And the only true ally that the United States has down in Latin America and South America is Brazil. We have been, and this isn't YouTube conspiracy, this isn't Google research based, this is just facts. Now, if you go to Pentagon, Washington.gov, if you go on to Stratfor situation reports, if you go on to military news, if you go to local news areas, you'll see the facts are we are sending a massive amount of armaments down to Brazil. And the reason is not because we're fighting Mexico or Honduras or anything like that. It's because it's our fallback option for Venezuela. Who says that it might not even be us? It might be another proxy war that we're kind of just going to afford and make available to Brazil. Armaments, capabilities, manpower, infrastructure, logistical support, air support. Maybe it'll just be another proxy war like we've been seeing in Syria. But it will probably end up being a staging location or forward operating base used by the United States military themselves if ever anything happens or a coup fails or they feel like they're losing their grasp on Venezuela, which they slowly and certainly are to Putin, to the Ruskies, and to all those frickin' commies. So this is definitely what's going on right now. And it is not looking good, but when is it ever? So hey, might as well just smile and go along with it, right? It is a very precarious situation that we got ourselves in, and it seems like the only way we can get out of it is by truly overwhelming, and it may sound so gone, so crazy, and so preposterous and unorthodox of an idea, but when the masses do put out and do care about each other more and do have more of a godlike or Christ-like intelligence or do have the passion, wars can be stopped. Nations have won through peace. A lot has been done through peace, and it goes a lot of the time without being said and without being seen, because peace is a very silent thing, and it's something you don't really realize you have until war breaks out. So discussions that we have on YouTube, in comment channels and comment sections, discussions you may have around the cooler, is as stupid as it may sound, even getting arrogant or heated, even just passionate about your country and say, oh, we'll bomb them to hell, or, it's just all threats, or we'll easily overtake them, or we'll easily just annihilate them, China will never see the light of day again. Just calm that down. That has a huge effect on society, the people around you hearing it. It builds anxiety, it builds tension. We don't want that. We want the absolute opposite. So in these conversations, have a foresight and a hindsight of love, empathy, and compassion, but also keep to it in the core roots of itself a tactical, military-like intelligence gathering operation. You have to understand the truth of everything going on. You can't see it just through your country's point of view, just through mainstream media's point of view. You have to see it through your point of view. Taking all of the information, dissect it, discern it, rightly divide the word of truth, which is the Bible, but also truth in general, and then hold on to that, which is good. I say that all the time. So keep your eyes on Venezuela. What's going on down there with oil prices is going to be drastic. The economy is another thing. Take a look at Venezuela, in my opinion, if you want to look at the future United States economy. It's not going to be martial, in my opinion, not going to be martial law on the streets. It's not going to be people dying in cannibalism and eating their neighbors, but it definitely will be an economic downturn, sort of like Venezuela with hyperinflation. So I might want to get used to that anyway. Prayers out to the people in Taiwan who are still dealing with a massive presence and the anxiety of being invaded by one of the largest armies in the world. And again, prayers go out to all of you for keeping up with the Truther community, for keeping in there, for watching me for 15 minutes, because that's got to be horrible. Yeah, just thank you guys so much. Keep your eyes on the prize, keep your head on the swivel, and until next time, ahui ho, mahalo nui loa, and yeah, thank you guys so much.